Chernobyl, the site of one of the worst nuclear disasters in history, is a place that remains shrouded in mystery and intrigue. Despite its notoriety, there are still many little-known facts about this infamous location that might surprise even the most ardent history buff. Here are just a few of them. Firstly, despite its near destruction, Chernobyl isn't entirely deserted. In fact, there are still around 3,500 people living in the 30 kilometers exclusion zone around the plant. These workers brave higher than normal levels of radiation and sometimes treacherous conditions in order to monitor the site and carry out repairs when necessary. They are known as the liquidators. Secondly, Chernobyl is home to an incredible variety of wildlife. Because human intervention is so limited in the area, many species have been able to flourish there. Wolves, moose, lynx, and wild boar are just some of the animals that have made their homes in the exclusion zone. In fact, some studies have suggested that the wildlife there is thriving in a way that is almost unimaginable in other parts of the world. Thirdly, the Chernobyl disaster had a profound impact on the way that nuclear disasters are perceived and dealt with around the world. Following the catastrophe, strict new regulations and safety measures were put in place to prevent similar accidents from occurring in the future. Meanwhile, the story of Chernobyl became a cautionary tale for anyone who might be tempted to take nuclear power lightly. Finally, it's worth noting that the Chernobyl disaster was not an isolated incident. There have been numerous other nuclear accidents throughout history, each with their own unique causes and consequences. Some, like the Fukushima disaster in Japan, are still affecting the world today. It's vital that we learn from these events and work to prevent future disasters by focusing on renewable energy sources and improving safety standards for nuclear power plants. Hey guys! I came here in the middle of the video, asking you to leave your like, subscribe to the channel, because there is a lot of special content every day. Keep watching. One little known fact about Chernobyl is that the explosion actually took place during a safety test. The reactor's operators were carrying out an experiment to see if it was possible to keep the cooling system running even if the power supply failed. Unfortunately, this experiment went disastrously wrong, leading to a sudden surge in power and a subsequent explosion. Another interesting fact is that the town of Pripyat, which was located just a few kilometers from the Chernobyl plant, had a population of around 50,000 before the disaster. Today, it's a ghost town, with abandoned buildings, rusting playground equipment, and overgrown streets left behind. The town was evacuated just a few days after the disaster. And it remains off-limits to all but a handful of visitors. Despite its status as a desolate, abandoned wasteland, Chernobyl has also become a tourist attraction of sorts in recent years. Tours to the exclusion zone are now available, allowing visitors to get a close look at the eerie and unsettling remains of the disaster. While some have criticized these tours as being in poor taste, others have argued that they offer an opportunity for learning and reflection on the impacts of nuclear power. However, it's worth bearing in mind that the exclusion zone is still an incredibly dangerous place. Although radiation levels have dropped significantly since the initial disaster, they are still high enough to pose a serious risk to health. Visitors are strictly controlled and are required to wear protective gear and follow strict rules while inside the zone. Despite the horror of the disaster and the ongoing risks that still exist, one thing is clear: the story of Chernobyl is one that will continue to fascinate and intrigue people around the world for generations to come. Whether we see it as a warning about the dangers of nuclear power, a reminder of the resilience of life in the face of adversity, or something else altogether, its legacy is sure to endure.